Avengers Age of Ultron, the sequel to Avengers, of course, and this is going to be a typical sequel in which they introduce a whole bunch more, keep building on what you already had. And by this, I mean they're going to expand the Avengers team. And no, I'm not saying the heroes that have actually been introduced throughout the MCU as we've been, introducing more characters such as, Falcon or War Machine. No. We're going to introduce completely brand new characters like Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and even a total surprise, though he was all over the promotional posters and whatnot. They tried to not spoil it, but it was very much spoiled. Vision is also in it, yeah. So, hey, it's a typical sequel in that sense, and it's just more of what we've already seen, right? The Avengers all teaming up. It's no longer such a big deal as it was back in 2012, right? Well, actually, it kind of is a little fresh still. I mean, I would say it was still pretty fresh for me. You get to see a lot more of their own relationships developing. The interactions between the characters are just much more exciting in this one than in, say, the first one. And yet at the same time, every single character among this huge cast is getting a lot of character development. They all have their own little character arc throughout the story in which they're all being teamed up. It was pretty impressive in that sense. So there's a wrap-up mode, I think, of the movie. Well, so it's called Age of Ultron, and it's not actually the Age of Ultron. It's maybe just a very short period of time of Ultron. Hey, they just had to use that comic book title despite being nearly nothing like the actual comic book. Age of Ultron is, of course, implying that Ultron is the main villain, and he is. And, well, how about that? Ultron is supposed to be this super intimidating guy. You look at the trailers, they were super dark, you got that whole Pinocchio thing, but really dark now. He has no strings on him. But guess what? He was not really that intimidating, because, hey, he's cracking jokes all over the place. I gotta say, though, they were pretty funny. When Ultron made a joke, it was really, really good stuff. That aside, he was supposed to be super intimidating and super powerful, but even Joss Whedon had to address the issue himself in saying he wanted the villains to be a little more grounded. Because if Ultron really was as powerful as he was in the comics, well, he would have been very powerful. He would easily be able to destroy the entire world. It is important to have him a little more grounded. He was super overpowered in the comics. He actually did wipe out the human race just about in the comics. So if you want to introduce that kind of power to the movies, well, you just start to question, well, why didn't he actually just wipe out the entire human race? It's a movie, right? We're not killing people off. Hey, spoiler alert, ready for this? So people are always complaining in the MCU, oh, they never kill off characters. Never a main character. And everyone's always like, well, they did kill off that one Avenger, didn't they? Quicksilver, right? Yeah, that's not a good character to kill at all. I'm not saying oh no, how dare they kill him? I don't care, honestly. The thing is, first of all, he's hardly even an actual Avenger. Even if you look in the comics, he's more so an X-Men. But nonetheless, he was an Avenger for the one film he was introduced in and was killed off in the same film. And he probably had the least character development out of everyone, too. Yeah, so Quicksilver dies. That's a shame, right? Yeah. Hey, they try so hard to make us like Hawkeye, though, the one, because he sacrificed himself for Hawkeye. Everyone was like, oh no, they're gonna kill Hawkeye off after making us love him. After they're like, oh, he's such a lame Avenger, let's try to force him onto the fans. Let's give him a family and an actual life. So Hawkeye actually survived. Yay! And then we have that whole Hulk and Black Widow romance, something that you could never really picture ever. You'd never imagine them getting together. I mean, Black Widow's hooked up with just about every Avenger at this point. Every movie that she's been in, she's with a different person. Iron Man 2, you were like, oh, she's definitely gonna hook up with Iron Man. In Avengers, you're like, oh, her and Hawkeye are totally gonna hook up. Hawk up, get it? But then, surprise, Hawkeye has a family. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, you're like, oh my gosh, Black Widow and Captain America, they are gonna bang each other. That never happened either. And now Age of Ultron, she's actually, pretty serious with the Hulk. Surprise, surprise, never would have imagined it, and yet they make it work, because, their backstories and stuff are a little more similar than you'd think. They all want to run away from the problems, and they almost do, but then they don't. But then Hulk does, and she doesn't. And hey, where's Hulk? Big cliffhanger there. So, how about the movie, though? It was really good. It was an action, thriller, popcorn movie, super cool. The plot was actually pretty good. Despite that they have to keep advertising Infinity War, keep setting up, that whole little side plot was a little, maybe, dumb, but it was still kind of necessary, I guess. They still focus on their own plot and take themselves pretty seriously. So, I mean, sure, they don't exactly match how high the stakes are as far as the tone of the movie goes. It's still a pretty lighthearted, family-friendly tone film, but hey, it's okay, because it was quite a fun movie, alright? Super entertaining, you know? You will very much fall into the plot, you will get indulged into the film, and you will enjoy it. The characters are super entertaining in it, and Ultron as a villain, well, maybe he was a little weak, but actually his motivations and his understanding of the world, his whole flawed thinking on how he must destroy the human race, it was actually pretty intriguing. I thought it was interesting, and it kind of worked. Alright, he's a rather pretty good villain, I gotta say. That's it. I like this movie a lot, and I'm gonna even go as far to say this is better than the first Avengers film. Fight me down in the comments below if you feel like you must do that. But yeah, Age of Ultron, I feel in many ways was a huge improvement over the first Avengers film. It's a little cliche too, sure, you're gonna destroy the human race, blah blah blah, but it still worked. It worked pretty good, I gotta say, alright? That all being said, thank you very much for watching. Please don't like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next review coming real soon, which is, of course, going to be, drumroll, Ant-Man to end off the MCU Phase 2. Yeah, Ant-Man somehow just joins randomly now, okay.